Hello and welcome back to the channel. I'm not even sure what I'm going to title this video, but there's an awful lot to dig into, so we probably ought to, as you can see, jump right in. As I've mentioned in the past, I somehow managed to get onto Google's nice list a while back. I'm on Team Pixel, so when new Pixel devices come out, they tend to send them to me, which is awesome. I got a bit overwhelmed with work and whatnot, so when the Pixel 4a came out, it ended up on the shelf there and stayed there. So we're going to take a look at that today. But also, this other box arrived. I've got the label covered up here. It had my shipping information and everything on it, so we'll just go ahead and cover that. But it says help has arrived. And I thought before we just quickly dive into the Pixel 4a, let's take a look at what's in the box. The Google Hyperspeed Helper, which has a little card in it that says we're excited to introduce to you some of the latest and greatest from Google. And on the inside here it mentions, say hi to your new Pixel 5, Pixel 5 case, and Pixel Buds, which tells me there's some fun toys inside this box. Yep, absolutely. So of course over here on the left we have the Pixel 5 5G, the Pixel Buds, the wireless earbuds, and the Pixel 5 5G case, which is the fabric case. It looks like the fabric cases that I've tested from them in the past. I think that's everything from the box, so we can go ahead and put that to the side. And I would expect that the experience from unboxing these devices is going to be very similar, so we'll just go ahead and do both at the same time. But I actually do have it pulled up on my tablet here, the differences between the Pixel 5, the Pixel 4a, and the Pixel 4a 5G, because there's actually another version they did not send me that was right in the middle of these two. Let's start unpacking these. So putting them side by side, just inside of their boxes, you can actually see the boxes are exactly the same size. And just looking at the dimensions, the new phone is a 6-inch screen, the Pixel 4a is a 5.8 inch, both 5.7 inches tall, 2.8 inches wide versus 2.7, such a minor difference. And I'm not sure if you're going to be able to tell it from the video. Of course, Pixel 4a is just a really simple matte black finish on the back with this interesting little green button. But the Pixel 5, get up there, maybe you can see some of the texture to it. It's not exactly textured, but it's got a finish on it that is not exactly matte. It's really hard to explain it. Maybe you can see it a little bit better on this camera. You can see there's a little bit of a texture to it, a little bit of a finish, but it's not exactly, it's just part of the color. I like that a lot. I'm going to be really sad to have to cover that up with a case. Funny thing is, when I flip them over like this, of course they've still got the plastic on them. Just peel that off real quick, both of them. So if I'm holding them at just the right angle, which one's which? Can you tell the difference? Looks like there's a much bigger camera on the front of this one, but other than that, they're practically identical on the front. Turn them to the side though. Of course you can see power buttons, volume rockers. Turn them to the other side, you've got the SIM card slot. On the top, Pixel 4a has a headphone jack, Pixel 5 does not. On the bottom, both have USB-C ports, and both have fingerprint readers on the back. What else is in the boxes? Documentation with a SIM ejector tool on the back, USB-C to USB-C cables, USB-C to USB-A adapters, and then USB-C wall adapters. Both exactly the same model, meaning exactly the same charging specs. So 5 volts at 3 amps or 9 volts at 2 amps. Exactly the same on both of them. Then we'll take a quick look at the Pixel 5 case. It's interesting. It's got a little fabric loop here at the top, and it does mention hashtag Team Pixel here on the inside. But there's the Pixel 5 case. Fabric has sort of a grayish white button, and it should fit just fine over the device. Just clicks in place. And unfortunately, that sort of pretty greenish color mostly goes away when you do that. Now again, very quickly, what's the difference between these two devices? 6-inch display, 1080 by 2340, 432 ppi, 5.8-inch 1080 by 2340, 443 ppi on the Pixel 4a, million to 1 contrast ratio versus 100,000 to 1 contrast ratio, HDR support versus none, 24-bit depth, no. In terms of battery, you've got 4,080 milliamp hours versus 3,140 milliamp hours over here. Also, fast wireless charging, battery share, so you can charge wirelessly other devices, kind of like the Samsung devices do. Gorilla Glass 3 on the front versus Gorilla Glass 6 on the front of this one. This is also supposed to be water resistant. 6 gigs of RAM versus 8 gigs of RAM, 128 gigs of storage on both. And a bit of a downer here, but Snapdragon 730G versus Snapdragon 765G with octa-core, which means that this is not like top tier flagship level device. I was looking it up earlier, and the 765G that comes in this actually falls kind of right in line with the Snapdragon 845, which is like almost 3 generations ago, Pixel 3. But I'm guessing that if you're buying these devices, you're not necessarily buying them to be flagships, you're buying them for the OS and for the cameras. Both of these do have 12.2 megapixel dual pixel cameras with f1.7 lenses. They both actually have the dual pixel phase detection autofocus, but the new camera has the 1.4 micron pixel width. They're both 77-degree field of view, but this one also has a 16 megapixel ultra wide camera with 1 micron pixel width, an f2.2 aperture, and a 107-degree field of view. And as I mentioned before, the front camera looks very similar, 8 megapixel f2 fixed focus, 83 versus 84-degree field of view, 1.12 micron pixel width for both of them. And of course, the new camera has a few extra features that the previous model does not. They all have night shot, top shot, portrait mode, live HDR plus, dual exposure, motion autofocus, super res zoom, group selfie, and frequent faces. But the new one has a cinematic pan, an ultra wide lens, of course, and portrait light. And the other big difference, Android 10 versus this launched with Android 11, and fingerprint sensors on the back, if I hadn't already mentioned it. I think I did. Let's go ahead and get them powered up. We'll just take a look at them out of the box. Let's see how much faster the new one comes up if it does. There was like a tiny difference in terms of pressing the button. This one was a slightly later, but not by much. And again, I will say that the Pixel 4a has been sitting on the shelf for quite a little while, so I'm kind of curious if the Pixel 4a is going to have much in terms of battery charge, because it has been sitting on a shelf. All right, so this is finally coming up. This one's sitting here waiting. It's at the setup screen. Realistically, yeah, the Pixel 5 came up a little bit slower. Does it matter? Probably not. But let's go through some of the setup process. We're going to skip this because I don't have a SIM to put in both of these. That's interesting. This one popped up and said skip network connections. That's also interesting. Maybe differences in software, but this one has a use mobile network for setup. The new version does not. And the keyboard out of the box, as you can probably see, is a little bit different as well. Actually, I hit the button at the same time on these. This one definitely got to that point of getting your phone ready a little bit faster. I'm guaranteeing this one is going to come up and say, hey, there's a software update, let me do that and restart. This one might have an out-of-the-box update, but it's not going to be a full version jump. That was kind of interesting. The copy apps and data, the Pixel 4a actually got there just a little bit faster. We're not going to copy right now, we'll just skip. And again, the Pixel 4a got there just a little bit faster. We're going to skip this too because I don't want to have to go through the account setup. I just want to see it plain out of the box as it is. Additional legal things. This one's asking for a date and time. This has already gone past to a screen lock. Confirm that. There was one extra layer here. Unlock with Pixel imprint. We'll say yes. Touch the sensor. It's going to be a little weird doing this with 2 fingers at once, but just barely touching. Having the case on the left one, the Pixel 5, made it take a little longer. And let's switch. We'll add another, and we'll switch hands. So Pixel 4a on the left now. There you go. So they're about the same difference in terms of the fingerprint reader. And there's a bunch of additional apps it looks like it's going to install. Go home, switch apps, go back. Ooh, dark or light theme by default here on the Pixel 5. Go home, go switch apps, go back. Google Assistant. So the funny thing is the setup process for the 5 took a little bit longer. It was just kind of slower in every single sense. Maybe it's the device, maybe it's the OS, but it's like every step of the way the Pixel 4a was getting there a little faster. And it's a lot cheaper. Looks like it does mention the Android 11 system update here. We'll do that in a minute. But anyway, I'm looking down at the time and I've been going on about this for about 20 minutes so far. Maybe we'll do a very quick camera test between the Pixel 4a and the Pixel 5 and just see how they've changed. I mean video test because I don't really do other tests than that. And if I tap down here, I have 1080p and 4K as an option on both, 30 and 60 frames per second as an option on the Pixel 5, no other option on this one. And if I flip it around, let's see what these do. Tap down on that. There is no option here for resolution or anything like that. They both have video stabilization on by default. There's also an audio zoom on the newer version, the Pixel 5. But let's do a quick video test sample comparison here. All right, so here we are. We've got a head-to-head comparison back and forth between the Pixel 4a and the Pixel 5. Both should be recording at 4K, 30 frames per second. Both should have video stabilization turned on. And I've got the lenses at basically the same height, so I have the phone flipped on my right-hand side, so I'm holding it a little differently, but
This is just a quick back and forth comparison, apples to apples, to see how they compare.
Interestingly, auto rotate was not turned on for either of these devices by default. I'm not sure why. So now when I turn the phone, the video does turn. And just looking at them both side by side here, they both look very good here. I'm curious to see how they'll look on the computer, so I'll take them over there and look later. The Pixel 5 screen looks like it might be showing a little bit more of the HDR, a little bit more dynamic range, but it's such a minor difference that would you ever notice? Probably not. Very, very good quality for a cell phone, but again, I'm here in bright studio lights, so you can kind of expect that. Maybe a quick low light test?
All right, here's a much lower light test. I do still have the bright studio lights on at the other end of the room, but this is the Pixel 4a versus the Pixel 5 in significantly dimmer conditions. Of course, it's not dimmer exactly, it's like red and blue, so it's just a different scenario. But there you go, there's a comparison in my darker part of the basement. So let's take a look and see how that looks.
And just again, very first impressions, they both look very good to me. Maybe we'll try the front-facing cameras.
Okay, here's the front-facing cameras on the Pixel 4a and the Pixel 5. Again, they look very good here in my bright studio lights, but if I turn around, you get some backlighting, you get into some dimmer light. I can see the front facing on the Pixel 4 looks a little bit worse, the Pixel 4a. Pixel 5 still looks really good. Surprising. Now that I'm getting into this slightly better lit area, they both look pretty good, but again, as soon as I leave that, they're pretty similar. It's really hard to say. Anyway, there's some quick back and forth comparisons. If you want to see more of that, if you want to see more video from both of these devices or pictures or anything, let me know. Maybe I can do a comparison video follow-up.
The biggest thing I gleaned from all that is that I need to get a haircut. I've got this flip that's happening. Anyway, so I'm going to try to spend some time with both of these devices, but realistically, this is the device you go for, either one of these. If you're looking for stock Android, if you're looking for plain Jane, nothing changed, like if you don't want the Samsung UI or LG's special tweaks on top of it or Microsoft's tweak on top of it for the Surface Duo, these are the devices you would go for. But the price points, the 4a is now available for $349. The Pixel 5 is $699. I'd have to do some more in-depth testing to see if I could actually tell a difference performance-wise, but just looking at the specs on the sheet, it looked like the processor in this was not significantly slower than the processor in the Pixel 5. The biggest difference you're going to see is some slight, minor camera improvements, slight screen improvements, and this one has 5G, whereas the Pixel 4a is only 4G, but there's still not 5G rolled out widely available everywhere. So I think that's actually where I'll wrap this up for today. I've been going on for nearly a half hour now. If you'd like to see a video about the Pixel Buds, let me know down in the comment section below, and I can definitely take care of that separately. But either way, thanks so much to Google for sending out this hashtag gift from Google from hashtag Team Pixel. I'll tag everything on all the social medias with that. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to check these out, even though I took so long on the Pixel 4a. I think I definitely like the size of these. It's not too small, it's not too big, pretty good size. And let me know if you had to choose between the two, the $350 for a reasonably priced, reasonably spec device versus $700 for a slightly better spec device that, yes, it does have wireless charging, fast charging, bigger battery, slightly better camera and screen. Would it be worth that big of a cost difference for that for you? Let me know down in the comment section below. If you like this video though, I'd appreciate it if you'd leave a thumbs up down below, and if you have not already, hit that subscribe button if you want to get notified when new videos come out, and ring the little notification bell that will be down there. Maybe I can also put together a playlist of all of the other Pixel phones I've taken a look at in the past, because I've looked at the Pixel 3a, the 3. I don't think I looked at the 2, but I had the original Pixel that I bought myself. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you again next time.